your existing data center. So based on that poll, it looks like most of you have your own data centers, and therefore you're probably pretty savvy business people. So you've probably already figured out that there's a great deal of market opportunity in using your existing data center as an asset to make additional money by selling online backup. And that's, of course, why you're here today. So we're going to go over just some background information from analyst firms like Gartner and IDC about what the market opportunities are for private cloud backup. We'll look at why resellers like yourselves would want to go after the private cloud backup market, how SOS can help you in this endeavor, and what the ideal private cloud backup customers are and ideal private cloud backup environments. And then finally, we'll finish up with a quick product demo by our product manager, Derek Wood. And as always, please feel free to ask questions all throughout the presentation. So we do have Q&A at the bottom here of the agenda, but that's not really true. Please feel free to ask questions all throughout. We do love questions, and we love your interaction. So please do. And I haven't gotten a positive from anybody on whether or not they can hear me and see my screen okay. So hopefully you all can. If someone could please let me know, just type yes in the questions tool, or yes, I can hear you. That'd be great. All right, Nick says, all good from Sydney. Fabulous. Thank you, Nick. And later on in the presentation as well, our CEO, Ken Shaw, should be joining us to help answer some of your questions too. And with that, let's get started. So what's the market opportunity like for private cloud backup? There is a division occurring between CIOs that want to use private cloud backup and those that want to use public clouds. Those that want to use public clouds are typically much smaller, and you may be creating your own public cloud. And with that, still keep in mind that there's a great deal of opportunity. And in fact, this division between who's using private cloud and who's using public cloud is almost exactly 50-50. And many individuals who have not implemented their private cloud yet are looking to do so, which we'll look at on the next slide. So public cloud still meets the needs of micro businesses and small SMBs. And like I said, you may be creating your own public cloud for this reason. These guys don't have infrastructure management skills. This resides within the vendor, which may be you. And applicable in-house technology does not exist. Again, this is probably going to be you, providing that excellent and applicable in-house technology. Private cloud deployment is becoming more popular amongst large businesses and enterprises. So in this instance, you may be installing online backup in a company's own private cloud. There are a lot of benefits to them for this. They have their own internal data centers quite frequently, and then they, like you, would like to make additional money off of their investment or optimize their investment. Sometimes they also want to own the iron, as the phrase is, and they need the benefits of online backup software, which is really what all businesses need. Public or private businesses need the security, encryption, and features available with online backup software. They need a business continuity solution, and that they can certainly get from you and SOS. So Gartner, which is an analyst firm that you may be familiar with, and we certainly are very familiar with, has confirmed enterprises' intense interest in the private cloud. 29% of businesses they surveyed said that they would adopt private cloud storage in the next 12 months. 11% said that they were already using it. We love statistics like this because it literally shows you through a delta, the changes of these percentages, what kind of market opportunity there is for a specific type of backup or a specific type of infrastructure. So that delta is here. It means that there is a great deal of opportunity for those of us with private cloud offerings. And Gartner is recommending that its enterprise clients consider the use of private cloud storage. And their reasons for this are relatively vague because it was brought on by a survey which presumably didn't ask that question. But approximately 53% of CIOs surveyed in a separate IDC survey stated that they were interested in moving to a private cloud infrastructure. So why should resellers want to go after the private cloud backup market? Number one, you get to use your own machines, which, as we've talked about, you guys have already figured out. Number two, you can increase your margin by licensing less expensive online backup solutions. So without getting too specific, so I don't want to get lost in pricing land on this webinar, I will tell you that our private cloud deployment option is less expensive, especially for those of you in Australia and New Zealand. So definitely get a quote from your partner specialist about that, but it is more cost effective for you. You would be able to use your point-to-point network if you've got one, and you'd be able to maximize your throughput if you have issues with speed or if you have issues with bandwidth upload capability. So how can SOS help you address this market? We can offer a single solution that backs up servers, laptops, desktops, and mobile devices, and they will all be managed through one centralized management tool that we call our dashboard. And Derek will take you through this a little bit later. And by the way, Derek has joined us. Say hi, Derek.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming.
He's a jolly fellow. He'll do a demo for you in about 7 minutes here. So what else does SOS do for you? It allows you to back up bare metal images to the cloud. So if you want to take bare metal images of machines in your data center or in your customer's infrastructure, you can do that and back it up to the cloud, either your cloud or our cloud. We also offer mobile endpoint backup and recovery for Android and iOS devices, and that includes tablets. And laptop and desktop backup and recovery. Of course, this is what we are best known for and what we have won four PC Magazine Editor's Choice Awards for, our laptop and desktop backup and recovery. And we do allow you an unlimited number of endpoints. So mobile devices, laptops, and desktops, those are all unlimited. The only amount of limitation that you have by device is bare metal image backup. Okay, and centralized management will allow you to do remote monitoring, remote deployment, and reporting for all types of accounts, be this servers, so email, file, application servers, mobile devices, your Android and iPhones, I should say iOS devices, and your workstations, PCs, Macs, desktops, and laptops. And it's also important to mention at this point that our PC and Mac applications are rebrandable. So when we're talking about being able to back up a business from a single point through a single solution, we're talking about SOS ServerSave. So if you have talked to anybody at SOS in the last year, you probably have heard about this solution. So with the solution, we allow you to do exchange backup and granular recovery, create bare metal images, and then send them to the cloud with our online backup and recovery manager. So this feature, this piece of software is built off of our award-winning backup platform that, like I mentioned, we've won PC Magazine's Editor's Choice Award 4 times for. And what it does is very, very quickly send your bare metal images to the cloud. It also backs up and recovers your files and folders from your laptops and desktops. And included is our centralized management tool. This is where you are going to manage and monitor and report and even deploy all of your backups from. We also include a website integration package, which is really fantastic if any of you do not have your own website already. We allow you to integrate billing management and merchant accounts, so you would be able to passively sell online backup on your own website without any intervention from yourself. So if you're a bit tired of walking around and handing out invoices all day long and making sure that people pay you via invoice or maybe via check, you will no longer have to do that with this website integration package. And of course, mobile. So we talked about that a bit on the previous slide. And you do have access for you and all of your customers to back up your Android and iOS devices and, of course, recover them. Got a question from Nick. Does it integrate with WHNCS?
No, we don't. Right now, the integration is limited to Authorize.net, PayPal Pro, which is PayPal Standard Australia, which is confusing for everyone involved. And we also support eWay, which is primarily used by our Australian partners and New Zealand partners, and then Paygate for our South African partners.
Thanks, Derek.
But we do have APIs available if you have development resources where you can program against our account management APIs to integrate it into any system you like.
So how many of you on the line have your own websites already? I'm going to guess you guys probably mostly do. And if so, the APIs are definitely the way that you want to go.
Or better yet, not just a website, but who has e-commerce integrated into their website? Because that's really what the point of the web integration package was, is to take the development out of integration, which seems silly to say, but it is. It's all you have to do now is plug in your credentials if you use one of those gateways, and you're good to go.
Okay, cool. John says he's got his own website. Cool, not a surprise. Well, you could definitely take advantage of those APIs like Derek mentioned. So if you are shopping around for partner programs in which you can host an online backup solution and back it up to your own private cloud, here's a bit about how the SOS 360-degree partner program compares against these others. You may well be looking at other private cloud solutions like Doyen's and Asigra, and we certainly have the upper hand on those guys when we're talking about marketing materials and also online sales capability and even business development assistance. So we offer partner support from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. And we also have an in-house business development manager who's available at your disposal to help you with pricing, marketing pitches, sales pitches, or just if you want to bounce ideas off him, he's there to help you with that. It's our job to make sure that you are selling online backup and that you're successful. We also offer a little tool called the Partner Resource Center, and this is where you will find all of your marketing materials and sales materials, all available for download and rebrand as you like. And of course, our website template and online sales capability, like Derek just described. And also very, very important to mention, SOS does not require that you purchase hardware from us. Many other competitors in this space do, particularly Asigra, whom you may have investigated. And of course, we offer the option of us hosting or you hosting. It's completely optional, either way you want to go. And it's also important to mention that we do have a data center in Australia. We in fact have data centers all around the world. We have one in Melbourne. We have several across the United States, one in London and in Toronto and in Cape Town, South Africa. So that is probably not a concern for you guys, but we do have a global presence that we're quite proud of, and we're glad that it's as flexible as it is. So who are the right private cloud backup customers? So you may have two or three, I suppose I should say 3 kinds. So you may have your own channel program, in which case you are reselling the online backup solution that you may be purchasing for us. You may be wanting to install online backup in a private cloud on an enterprise's network, or you may be simply wanting to back up your own data center. And we can obviously help you with all of those. So you may have customers within existing data centers that want to deploy online backup in their own private cloud. That's great. We can help you there. You may have large businesses that have private cloud requirements. This may be for various reasons. Maybe cost savings, maybe that they need to use their own data center for an internal compliance concern. We can definitely help you with that too. Customers may have concerns about bandwidth costs. Hosting in your own private cloud can help with that. And of course, many businesses, just like yourself, probably want to take advantage of our award-winning online backup technology without significant investment. So all of the features that we've gone over so far in this webinar are available to you whether you're hosting publicly in our cloud or privately in your own.
And for those of you on today's session, obviously you knew that this is a private cloud discussion as we're newly launching this service. What are some of the things that you're looking for in a private cloud offering? Is it a difference in recovery time? Is it mostly a marketing thing to have your own, as Sheilin puts it, your own iron behind the service? If you guys could put a couple of things that bring your interest to the market, that'd be great. And if those of you are looking not just to substitute our cloud for your own, but to replicate to your own, that would also be something of interest, as it's something we've heard of from a couple of people. So if you'd like to back up not only to the SOS data center, but also to your own data center, that would be great to hear.
Okay, so what is the ideal private cloud backup environment? I'll let Derek take you through that.
So basically, we're looking at a high in-out volume solution. So we need something with a good amount of bandwidth, backup bandwidth. We use tier 3 and 4 rated data centers. So if you are looking at the ratings of those against what you have in yourself, that's something good. You can get some, some black fiber lines running between multiple locations if that's how you're running. But basically, we're looking at a relative performance from how many customers you think you're going to be putting on this solution. So those of you who have maybe a smaller data center, maybe you have a server room and you'd like to replicate to that, then your requirements from that location would be a lot different than if you're an ISP serving thousands of users on a single network. We've put this as a best practice with the assumption that you have, maybe 10 to 20 terabytes of backup data among your users. So this is something that should be scalable over time. So this isn't something that you would need and that'd be it. It'd be something that you would start with and then build up. Go on.
So Nick has a question. He wants to be able to give a USB stick to a customer for emergency data restore. So we need physical access to local data center in Sydney.
Right. So with the private cloud solution, you would have that. There was still the encryption and the decryption you'd have to go through. So you'd still use the software client to recover data, but you'd be doing it over a local network versus a wide area network. So your recovery would be much faster. There is no drive pulling. If we were doing just a plain FTP, then sure, you could go and pull drives. But our system is built for security, so there isn't that kind of access to it. But yeah, you would have that kind of functionality, which is why one of the reasons we've launched private cloud. Next slide.
So if you were going to launch your private cloud and install SOS on it, how would you do it? Number one is to provide SOS with access to the ESX VMware host that will host the SOS Backup Server Virtual Appliance. And then we connect you to our global monitoring system, so you effectively become a server on our grid. While all that is going on, we are setting up your partner portal. We're setting up your centralized management dashboard, which Derek will take you through, and making sure that you've got everything that you need in order to sell online backup. We're also testing your Mac and Windows clients and verified monitoring on those clients. And in about a couple weeks, you would be able to start having your customer data be backed up. And finally, we will be available for technical administrative assistance whenever you need it.
That's right. So basically, we look at about a 30-day deployment window for testing and everything, and being that we do have 24-hour access to your location, so we can set everything up. And then we'll have ongoing monitoring. A lot of private cloud offers that you'll see out in the market is just the software. They give you the software package, and then you're on your own. When you go with the private cloud with SOS, you're actually going to become part of our global monitoring program. So when we see a blip on your server, we can alert you just as a NOC service would alert any other data center. So, but rather than leaving you out on your own, we would be constantly updating the software and monitoring the software for the backup application.
Okay, so we'll pause here quickly so I can do another poll for you guys. The question is, are you interested in using your own data center for online backup? I'm pretty sure this is going to be a really, really easy question, and most of you are going to be answering yes. But I'll just leave that up for a few seconds here, so you can answer yes or no. And again, we really appreciate the interaction and the questions, so please keep them coming. Okay, I'll go ahead and close that poll. 100% of you on the line have your own data centers, which is fantastic. Okay, so with that, I'll completely hand it over to Derek so he can do a product demo for you, and you can see how our solution would work for you.
Great. And as we get started, I'm going to pull up a Server 2008 box running R2. For those of you, all of you, with data centers, what kind of storage do you have in your data center? What kind of data would you be expecting to be pushing to your location from all of your clients? Get a couple terabytes here and there. Got 10 terabytes. And are these, and what kind of verticals are we looking at? Is this like government work, legal, education, anyone? So first, I just want to take us to the SOS website so you know where you can get more information on this. So you have SOSOnlineBackup.com, go to support. And then here you can contact our chat via, or our support via chat, or you can call in, or just submit a ticket. A great place to go is the knowledge base, where we have a lot of active forums. Sorry about that. So we have a lot of forums for the community to discuss. So we have discussions from our staff. You have our developers on these forums. Myself, Sheilin, our CEO will participate. But really everyone, especially the community, can really talk about different deployment strategies, what types of things you're looking for. So if you have any questions, this is a great place to pose those questions, and then the community votes on what is most popular. So if you have a question everyone likes, people vote for it, and then we answer. And in the same, we have recently launched a partner beta group wherein partners do the same thing but for features. And we can't see the forums here because we're not logged in, so it's not a public forum. But once you're a part of the group, you can submit features, and if the community votes for them at the top, then they get added to our product roadmap. So that's something that no other provider is doing for their customers, and it's just another way that SOS is looking out for the best interests of its customers and its partners. Nick says, small business, all industries, 30-day setup strategies. Sounds like expensive setup. Well, when you're setting up a new data center, it does take time. You're not just poking around with setting up a backup strategy. Setting up a backup for a customer is pretty simple. Setting up your data center takes about 30 days, and that includes rounds of testing, feedback loops, so just to make sure that everything's in line. Can it be done faster? Sure. Could it take longer? It's the same. And we found about 30 days is a safe estimate. And for more specific items, that's what we're going for. And really the 30 days of setup isn't expensive in terms of the money that you'd be saving versus maybe going directly to our data centers, or maybe in the benefit of added sales because of the marketing value of having your own data center set up or your own SOS cloud. How large is your setup now? How many terabytes are we talking? And how many customers? All right, and while that gets answered, I'm going to pull up our ServerSave application. And if you search through the forums, you can find guides and implementation strategies, all sorts of situations. There's even some live cases, so really pretty specific live environments that potential partners who eventually became partners put on the forums. And then not only does the community answer, but we answer as well. So you can search around the forums and see that. So ServerSave, this is an executable that is a bit of a wrapper application that includes the different strategies in backup and recovery that are included in this program. So you have bare metal image creator, which is for your image backup and image recovery. So this is a volume-based system. So you select a system volume to back up into a bare metal image file. And then you can recover that as a virtual drive on a machine that's already up and running, or you could use a recovery boot disk and mount it to nothing. There's also online backup and recovery. This is used for all of your endpoints, your workstations, your laptops, file servers, everything where you just grab the files and take them off-site. You would also use this to take the bare metal images off-site and also to recover them from the SOS cloud. Once you have the data back, we're going to go through the Exchange Granular Recovery tool. So if you're recovering an Exchange server, then you have the EDB file, and maybe you need to dig into it a little more granularly, maybe just for a message or a contact or an attachment, something of that nature. And that's where this application would come into play. So first, we're going to go through bare metal image creator, and then back those files up off-site, recover those, and then use EGO. So about the application, and it opens up to backup jobs. I have one created, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this and create a new one. So I go to the wizard, I hit backup, and then it shows me the different volumes that it recognizes. So I have a system reserved volume, which you use for a virtual machine. Note the C volume, which is for our operating system and program file data. And then we have a separate partition, Exchange Drive E, just for our exchange information store. And then this virtual drive F that we're going to use for a backup destination. So in a purely local scenario, you could select just E or just C or both of them and get one image file. But if you're going off-site, you want to separate what you're recovering to be more useful to you. So the idea is that your C drive is something that you just load up from any old Windows disk. And the E is the actual important information you're looking for. So you hit next, then you pick your destination. Now we don't require that you buy our hardware we don't require that you buy hardware to use the service, but we do recommend that you set up a staging machine when you're doing the image backup off-site scenario. This is just to give you a full backup solution, so it's the best practice really in a backup solution. And you can see more information on that if you search staging machine in our knowledge base. For now, I'm just going to use the equivalent of a network drive. So this NAS is mapped to this machine, and I'm going to run the image-based backups of Exchange to this virtual drive F, or map drive F. Hit next, we get into a schedule. So scheduling options, this is more traditional, so a full backup and then incremental throughout the week and another full backup. For our purposes going off-site, that doesn't work out very well because then you have a new huge chunk of data to be putting off to the servers every time. So you have now a continuous incremental schedule where you run the full backup once and then incrementals from that point on. And you would use a program called Image Manager to consolidate those incrementals if that's something you want to do. Image Manager, you can search our knowledge base for that as well, but it's a program that consolidates, say, right now this schedule has us running an incremental every hour between 8 and 6 p.m. So we're getting 11 incrementals per day, so that's 55 per week. You may have an inflated amount of data, and maybe you have 50 gigs between these 55 files after the week is over. If you were to consolidate them into a single file, maybe it gets reduced to, say, 35 gigs. So it helps save a little space online. But it's not necessary. Compression method, standard high. Lots of good questions coming in. We're going to get to them right after this. You can also encrypt the data locally. So if you have healthcare records in North America, require encryption locally. And it's pretty consistent country to country, although the standards are different. But you can select this to be encrypted and then go to advanced and then select the level of encryption you'd like to be using. We do recommend, as a best practice, that you split the image file into small chunks. It's not because of a limitation in the software to handle larger files. It's just a best practice. If you're running a backup of, if you're transferring 90% of a 100 gig file, and then all of a sudden your machine shuts off for whatever reason, you get to start all over again. With this system, you wouldn't have to start all over again. You just have to start over from the last 5 gig chunk it finished. So we hit summary, we hit finish, and now we have an image-based backup job running. You can go to options, agent options, and you can plug in your email address so you can get alerts on the success or failure of this backup running. But now let's take it off-site. So we hit up our online backup and recovery application. We log into this. And it starts us off in the backup tab, which is for files and folders, but that we have this new image stream wizard, which is specifically for image-based backup. The difference is that image stream does not have, or it does have a retention policy for files in the cloud. That retention policy is set to 0, meaning if a file is removed from the local folder, we will keep it in the cloud for 0 days. So this is to work with the consolidation schedule that Image Manager will have. If you mouse over it, it says right below in the description, what it's used for. So we hit the wizard button, and we're going to select the F drive, which is what we used for a destination for our backups. We hit next. Then now you're scheduling. Back at the end of this wizard, backup automatically. This will set up a Windows scheduled task. Backup even when Windows user is not logged on. If you're on a Windows domain, we're going to enter your domain credentials. Oftentimes, we have customers come in and they have an email report that says you have 500 files that did not back up, or that failed to back up. And we look, and it's because the domain credentials were not logged in, and the user that was currently logged in just didn't have the access rights to get there. So our system doesn't have any artificial access rights. We don't limit you to not being able to back up from network drives or external drives like a lot of systems will. We simply base it on the read-write permissions of the Windows user you're currently logged in as. We have a frequency, hourly, daily, which are our two most common for your individual workstations and laptops. You can run this every 1, 2, or 3 hours is a good frequency because users are changing data that frequently, and the backups happen that fast. So the backups from a user perspective on a daily basis may only take a couple minutes, and the user won't even notice that it's running. If you have an email report, you may only notice the email report that comes in. So running it every hour or two is great for your restore point objective. So how far back can you restore data? Well, I can restore data to an hour ago. That's what this is. For the image backup, you may have a bigger amount of data changing every day. So if you have, say, a daily incremental of 5 gigs, if you have a 1.5 megabit per second upload speed that's pretty consistent, then you may get that 5 gigs done in about 5 hours. So at that time, you pretty much just want to let it run once a night and let it run all night for the times that maybe you have some latency issues, the network cuts out. You never know what your network's going to do. So that would be where we're going to do a daily backup. We hit finish, and now it's scheduled to run a backup. All right, so let's say we want to run, actually I'm going to pause there and hit some questions. So follow up from Nick. Nick says he's a web host right now, has about 300 websites, and hasn't offered backup solution to them yet. So hosting the backup, being that we have the encryption and compression engines on it, and also dealing with multiple storage is a lot different. So we would actually set up the backup application server, and that would be its own piece of hardware. And then you would have a storage pool behind it. So it's a different setup than what you would typically do for a web host. And that's what we're licensing with the private cloud, is our server-side backup application server. Any other questions on what we've gone through so far as image backup and image backup to the cloud? We're about to start recovery. So I hit online restore, and it's going to refresh the data from the server. The first time you refresh, it's going to take some time. It's going to build the file list locally so that every time you refresh, it's only an incremental refresh from the last point at which you ran a backup. If I go back, I can go back, say, to January 4th of this year, hit next. It's going to refresh my backup set to what it looked like in January 4th. So I have 6 machines here. Let me go back and let's just say, okay, let's see what it looks like today. I hit next, and you can see all the other machines that's now added. And the backup set we just had was on drive F, and we have all these files. And you can check these, and then you're going to recover the ones that you select. Now I'm going to jump out of this and go to the wizard real quickly, just because I like the wizard a little better. That's my preference. Some people disagree with me. I think even our CEO disagrees with me. But you have the F drive here, and now let's say I need to recover the whole backup job 1. Instead of checking individual checkboxes, I can shift select a whole group, right click, and recover. New location, I pick a new location, and this is the same in the wizard, so nothing really changes from here. It's mostly the size that you can change, so you can see more information about the name of the file, the date, the type, and also the ability to shift select is really the benefit of the classic view. And that's it. So let's say we recover those files to the F drive. So I'm going to open up Windows Explorer. I go to backup drive F, and say I want to go to backup job for incremental 10. So I right-click this file and hit Quick Mount. And what it's going to do is going to intelligently put together the incremental file chain together, and it's going to mount a virtual drive, which just did I, and then throw me into it. So it just recovered as a virtual drive I. This happens to be exchange data. So let's say I need to get granular access to that exchange data which is recovered. So I go back to my ServerSave application, and I launch Exchange for Granular Recovery. I hit Open Source, where I'm going to select the EDB file I recovered, mailbox, EDB. Transaction log path is automatically selected. Now we have to select a destination. So mailbox name, say last name demo, or connect to all mailboxes rather. And again, this is going to give us access based on the Windows user that we're currently logged in as. So here we are. Scenario, let's say user comes in and says, Mr. Man, the sky's on fire. I need this management document and I can't find it. Somebody emailed it to me some time ago. So I said, okay, well, let's just search, your mailbox for this management document. Nothing comes up, so we'll search the whole thing. Might I have so select more folders. What's going on? Oh, you know what? In the last demo, I deleted it. Try to recover an old one. So okay, so good case. So it's not in this recovery. So let's go to a different version. So we open up BGR, and we say, okay, let's go to a different one. It wasn't in that version of our recovery. So virtual drive H, let's try that one. Mailbox EDB, this is from a different date. And there we go. So now we have this management. Actually, we got a lot. So let's open this up and see what it looks like. Here's a nice preview. Just double click, very simple. Hit the attachment. There's a management guide right there. And he says, that's awesome. How quickly can you get that to me? I said, well, just a minute. So we're going to take it, open up that user, and we'll just drag and drop it right into his inbox. Done, recovered. And the same, we are logged in as an Exchange admin, and we have access to the live and the backup database. So let's say that management was something that I really didn't want to have on there. So I'd say just in the, let's look at the whole target, and no one should have that guide. So I find it here. It's the only one. Let's double click to make sure it's the right one. Yep, that's it. So I can right click, and as soon as it's done searching, I can delete this from the server. So you can see it's very simple, very powerful, it's a great system to use. And you don't really need a whole lot of Exchange administrative experience to really get around and be helpful in it, which is one of the recovery time objective variables is your availability of expert resources. So when you have a human involved, what human do you need? And with a simple system, you can have more humans available. So it means that maybe instead of half of your techs being ready for that, all of them are ready for that. Any questions on the flow we just went through? Also open up our dashboard and go through that real quickly. So being that some of you are new to backup, how does this look as far as a complete solution from what you've seen or from what you were looking for? Did you expect to see all the different aspects of backup here? Now here's your dashboard, and as those comments come in. Here's your dashboard. So here we have a central management area. And the idea here is you have backup activity, which is your daily digest. So you get an email that every day that would tell you this is what happened with all your backup deployments over the last 24 hours. And would give you action points for your day. Also, you could search for specific accounts. So let's say we have an account name that we want to look up because we know it's a new deployment. So we have SOS test or DW. And we have a lot of these areas where no backup showed up in the last week. It means it was either uninstalled or it was a trial. We use all of our trials in here, which is why we have a lot of reds. But if you don't want to look at it anymore, you just remove it. So we don't remove it automatically. We just tell you it's not there. Now the next day when that runs, you'll get more information. So that gives you information about what do you have to look at now. The backup history is more for your reporting. So your customer at the end of the month is going to give you a bill. You in return should give them some sort of proof of work being done. People hate paying for things where they don't know what's happening. And managed services, one of the biggest hurdles you have to overcome is really making your documentation and your reporting nice and pretty. Most people won't read it. Assume that it doesn't get past the pictures. So you've got to get some nice pictures in there, and we give you the ability to do that. So you can export all this data to an Excel sheet, and then you can run. You can put together different graphs as far as you have total data selected, you have total files changed, total files not changed. So right now we're still putting together some nice predefined graphs, but you could always export this and put your own graphs together. So you could have a line graph of total files protected over time and just do it against this column. You could do it on backup time spent. You can do it at that time. That helps shows like the amount of time that backups are actually running. Total data backed up, to back up all the data they have, how long does it take, all these sorts of things. So this is a nice system to be able to do that. Also, if you're running an initial backup, it's a front-heavy service. So backup takes some time, online backup takes some time initially to get up to the cloud, and then the subsequent backups become very fast and easy. So the initial backup is even more important that you're able to run reports and see monitoring status of these deployments. You have rebrand settings that you can change. So you can change what the product name appears as, the logo on the client, the desktop icon on the client, the outgoing email address for the email reports, notifications, all these other URLs, which typically go to your web package, or your site, whatever you like. That's where we give you the options. We have remote backup policies, so you can define what a backup deployment is going to do. So if you have, say you have an account for all of your users, and it's deployed at every workstation in a business, then you could have, say, I don't know, let's use Alex Test 2. So we hit Edit, Alex Test 2. We're going to apply this to all of our users. So we're going to say, just scan the personal folders. Those are my document, my pictures, my music, that sort of thing. And we want it to select documents, images or pictures, that is, music, video. You can select all of these. You can select just documents. We'll say just documents. Hit Save. Then we go back and get a View Accounts. And let's say Four Cornerstones Network, this account. We want a machine on this account. So machine to use this policy. Alex test, and we apply. And there it is. So the next time the backup runs on this machine with this account, it's going to only protect my documents. And that's it. And then you have easy management of licenses. If you go to if you have a network of a lot of machines, say you have a lot of users that you want to deploy that to across the network, you can use our MSI, and we have instructions for the MSI MST deployment. So if you search MSI in our knowledge base, you'll come up with an article that shows you very simply how to take an MSI and drop it across your network as a group policy. And this is actually one posted by yours truly with the Wookiee pitching a baseball. Any questions about what we've gone through today? Again, our partner specialists are going to be a great resource for you. They'll be able to go through everything about the program, the pricing. They're going to really make sure that not only are you a good fit for the program, but that the level of program is going to be most appropriate for you and your business. So, Nick going through the 200 customers you have, maybe we go through an evaluation of the types of customers, get a vertical analysis, and then we can get an estimate of how much data they might need, and then have a rollout plan. They might help you identify a way of packaging in the backup service with your web hosting services. So these things are great. Web hosting, you already have a lot of trust, so this would be a terrific complement to that trust.
And the APIs, too, are going to be critical for you. So just a quick description about how this is priced. It is priced on a terabytes license basis. So select the number of terabytes that you feel that you would probably need, and we'll help you figure that out, too, if you're not sure. And license those terabytes. They are less expensive, and you especially save money being in Australia or in New Zealand by not having to pay for additional bandwidth fees, especially going outside of the country. So it's really a great way to make some additional money on top of your business that you've already got. Are there any other questions before we close up the webinar? We have wrapped up everything that we wanted to show you today, and we'll hang out for 30, 45 seconds more and see if there are any more questions.
And how did we do today? Did we show you what you thought you were going to see? Did we show you more? Not enough? Are you super excited and you can't get enough, so it's not fair to us to have been able to show you that much?
I can't get enough.
All right, well, that sounds good. Yeah, we have our partner specialist standing by, so if you call in, they'll be able to answer any and all questions you have, get you in touch with our sales engineering team if you need more discussions about the rollout plan for the private cloud. If the private cloud is something you're still tentative about, that's fine. We can always get you started with the standard SOS cloud. It's been one of the primary selling points of our services for years is the security behind our infrastructure. Some would say we were a platform as a service before we were as a software as a service. And then you could always move into the private cloud as you become more familiar and as your plan to roll this out to your customers becomes better. And I think that'll sum it up for us today. So thank you all for attending. And again, my name is Derek Wood, I'm Partner Products Manager here at SOS, and joined is Sheilin Herrick, our Business Marketing Director.
Thank you guys very much. Take care.